Hi, everyone. Kathy Rose here, and I'm going to talk to you about the astrological patterns for February 2024. We are in Aquarius season, and there's a lot of intensity happening with all things related to this sign as Pluto is now moved into Aquarius, and we have a lot of planetary action here. So I'm going to try to describe this as best I can. This is a very powerful month. First, let's begin by I want to show you an image that I think is great, and it illustrates the theme for the month very well. As you see, there's a row of white sneakers and one pair of bright red high tops. And the theme says, proudly embrace your unique signature. And that's really what we're looking at for February, not just February, but for all of 2024. Because this is the time frame when we get to observe and analyze and think about how we see ourselves and how we project ourselves to the world. And are we actually living our unique signature? This is when we get to think about if our style or our habits or our beliefs were shaped by people around us and how we think we're supposed to be. Is our style shaped by how we think we're going to get approval from others or what other people expect us to be? That's all very real and it affects a lot of us. And during this time, when we have Pluto in Aquarius and so much activity for the month, we get to say to ourselves, who am I really? Independent of what other people think or what other people expect me to be. Am I living my unique signature? Do I love my unique signature? Now, it's not just related to wearing something different than everybody else, like this example of the shoes. It's saying that you have the confidence to be your unique style, whether that is related to clothing or behavior or beliefs on all levels. Because it is a risk, isn't it? When you step out of the norm, and what really is the norm? Well, it's just what a group has accepted. And Aquarius is about the group dynamic, and this is why this is coming up. So I believe that this slide in this presentation is the most important one of the entire video. Think about it. Let's move on and let me show you the new moon in Aquarius taking place February 9th at 5:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And what this chart illustrates is exactly what the previous slide was saying, because at the time of this new moon, we're going to have Uranus making a square to the sun and the moon in Aquarius. And in modern astrology, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. In the traditional classical form, it's Saturn. But if we look at the frequency of Uranus, which is electricity, it is innovation, it's adventure, it's change. It is unstable in that the Uranus or Uranian energy is not seeking to have stale or stagnation. It wants movement and freedom and liberation and change. And so Uranus in this 90-degree aspect to the new moon in the sign that it rules in modern astrology says so much. Embrace your unique personal style, love it, live it, express it. But understand, this new moon is offering us a shakeup. It is not a stabilizing new moon. It is saying move forward, embrace adventure, and there's going to be high electricity in the air. So this is the time frame to remember to manage your nervous system, because all that electricity in the air, if you are sensitive to that type of energy, you might be feeling a bit jittery. I don't want to implant that as a possibility. I want to implant the opposite, which is you're going to be feeling great because of the freedom energy. But there is sometimes a background of high voltage, jittery energy. So the way you manage that is exercise. You ground yourself by getting out in nature or gardening, actually touching the earth. You cleanse your energy field, you breathe, all of those practical considerations. So on a personal level, this offers you so much wonderful growth and expansion and fun and freedom and liberation and uniqueness. On a collective level, it is a shakeup. It's a shakeup in the reality field. It's like having an energetic earthquake designed to wake us all up. I can't say what is going to happen, but there's already things happening in the United States with the border and in other parts of the world where people are protesting, they're speaking up, they're trying to shake up and put a big lightning bolt in the norm. So that's what this new moon in Aquarius is about. And I say jump in with both feet and have fun. Embrace the adventure of life. And with that, the other thing we can do right now is to actively understand we all have psychic senses and we can learn to activate them on command and use them. The first step is to be aware of them. Um, because this thrust with the Aquarian energy, which was activated when Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct in early 2021, this thrust is to develop those higher senses, to go beyond just the three-dimensional laws and to be able to do things like getting information from higher places that might alert you to something in the future, or that might guide you in the moment to make a better decision, to open you up. It's really not just special people who have this ability. We all do. So bear that in mind. Pay attention to those signals you get. Try to activate them as much as you can. Now, let me talk to you about this high voltage energy, particularly strong for the first half of February, not only limited to that, because this is a longer wave that's going to play out throughout the year. But for the first 2 weeks or so of February, it's really jazzy. We have Mars in a conjunction with Pluto on February 14th and 15th. And at that same time, the moon is going to be in Taurus making contact with Jupiter and Uranus. Bottom line for that is a very powerful period. Mars and Pluto working together, if you use it well on a personal level, you can achieve a lot. You can get a lot of work done. You can use the Mars assertive energy, the motivational energy to have breakthroughs. You can face limitations and fears and purge them, because that is really what these two planets working together wants to achieve. Activating your courage, activating your confidence so that you can face where you have personal limitations or fears. And we do that by shining a light on them, looking at them, addressing them, and then purging. So you're going to have a lot of support for that. Be aware that on the collective level, this could be a time when a lot of people are angry or assertive or in a fighting mood. That can happen. You need to manage your own frequency and connect with your higher senses, be at the right place at the right time, and then observe the other people who may be reacting differently to this. But on the world level, we may see a lot of activity. Fighting back may be the activity that we're seeing. When we get to the 16th and 17th of February, this is when Mercury is going to square Uranus. So it will have entered Aquarius, adding to that whole air sign energy. And at that same time, Venus will be conjunct Pluto. Mercury will have already entered Aquarius for that. I think it did it on February 5th. So I'm sorry, I misspoke there. Venus will have entered Aquarius right at that time and will conjoin Pluto. But again, what this is enormous activation in the sign Aquarius with dynamic tension to other planets, saying, where are you vulnerable to merging with a group and buying into groupthink for the sake of approval? This is something to think about. Do you hold your own opinions and are you clear about them? Or are you merging and blending with the opinions of your family or your friends or the groups to which you belong? And maybe that's not the case. Maybe you are absolutely very clear about what you believe and living that on a high level. And if so, I congratulate you. But it's very easy to slip into groupthink. It is. There are social media pressures, pressures in media in general. So during this time, the first 2 weeks of February, do the very best you can to connect with your own thinking. It's going to be a strong period. We get a little bit of a respite around the 18th of February when the sun enters Pisces and the moon will be in Cancer at that same time. So we go from a very strong air energy to more water, which is compassionate, more sensitive, more emotional. So that's nice about that time, and you can look forward to it. On screen right now is a mandala that I call the communication mandala. When I created this, I felt like I was hooking up with the internet with bits of information flying through the air. And I'm posting it because for the entire month of February, and really for the entire year, we get to polish our ability to really listen to another person. How many times have you been in conversation where the other person really isn't listening? They're thinking about what they're going to say next, or they're very attached to their opinion, so they don't really listen to your point of view. We want to make sure we don't step into that. We want to make sure we are actively trying to listen objectively to other people's point of view. And then we can maybe observe other people's point of view without judgment and be aware of what triggers judgment. Meditate on that because that's up for grabs in February, whether it is what triggers you to become judgmental, because we all have those triggers. There are vulnerabilities that then move us into a judgmental place. Or if you are very sensitive when you observe judgment happening in the world, which most people who watch these kinds of videos have that sensitivity because we're looking for fairness, we're looking for lovingness, but observe without judgment. This is time to be objective, and it's time to practice really good communication skills so that you can learn to communicate with people that may have very different point of view than you. All right, so then this leads us to the full moon in Virgo, which is February 24th, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. And so that second half of February changes a little bit, a little bit more emotional and sensitive, but we still have all that air energy going on. If you look at the chart for the full moon in Virgo on the 24th, we still have Mercury, Mars, and Pluto in Aquarius, and that's very jazzy, and they are squaring Jupiter and getting ready to square Uranus later. So we have the combination energy of some water and emotion and compassion and feeling with a whole lot of high voltage thinking going on. This moon in Virgo is so beautiful because if it's used on the higher level, we move into service, we move into humility, and we move into efficiency and organization and detail. So isn't that wonderful? And that's a nice balance to all of that kind of abstract Piscean energy. But at the same time, Virgo moons, Virgo lunations have a shadow side that can come up that we need to be aware of. When Virgo energy manifests in the shadow side, we have to watch the vulnerability of criticism because quite often the Virgo energy opens the door for us to connect with the ideal version of ourselves or of the world. And when we get hooked into the ideal version and then either we don't live up to it or the world doesn't live up to it, that's when the criticism can come in, the editorial eye looking for what's wrong instead of what's right. So do be aware of that during this full moon in Virgo if you have any sensitivity to that. And the other thing with the moon in Virgo can be worry, can be the sense of over-analysis about life not being perfect. So I'll get to that in a moment. Let me show you an image that's on screen, which is a painting that my dear friend Liza did many years ago. She specialized in mermaids, and mermaid is a great image for this full moon in Virgo because It's opposite those Piscean planets, which is the ocean and connected to the water being, but she's sitting on the beach, which is connected to the earth, which is that moon in Virgo. And the main color in here is that kind of orangey color, which is also a strong Virgo color. And what I like about this painting is she's holding the pearl, symbolizing the full moon, and looking up at the moon. Um, and it's very peaceful. And I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's a great representation of this full moon in Virgo that we can connect with. So going back to the concept of the shadow side of Virgo and the potential for worry. Nobody does worry better than Virgo when it's manifesting in the shadow. Cancer is the close second. And it doesn't always have to be like this, but that's the vulnerable side. So my final thoughts to end this video is to understand February is a jazzy month. It's high voltage. It is not particularly stable. It's adventurous. It's expansive. The stagnation in patterns is trying to be released and move forward. We need to embrace adventure. And sometimes adventure says, wow, I don't know where I'm going or what's going to happen. You know, it puts us in that place of having to be confident that we can handle the unexpected, which then brings me to worry. Because sometimes it triggers worry. Can I handle it? What's going to happen? I need to know when. And I want to remind everybody that worry is a misuse of imagination. When you worry, you are actually giving energy to what you don't want. There's a big difference between concern and planning and careful consideration and sliding into worry. So be mindful of that. If you find yourself going there, because we all do from time to time, pull yourself back and focus instead on what the real message for February is, which is believing in yourself, understanding that you are deeply connected with the universe. And at any given moment, if you need information, you will get it exactly when you need it. Maybe before, but you will get it because you are connected and you are open and you are capable of navigating life extremely well. And you're going to learn that in February in some way, shape, or form. So I'm sending you many, many blessings and much love. And I wish you the best for February. And I look forward to talking to you in the March forecast. Bye for now.